Well, hello and welcome to our December 4th webinar. My name is Michael Tamer. It's great to have you with us here today. I am in Dallas, Texas, where it is very, very cloudy and a little on the chilly side. Hopefully you're somewhere that's warm. Grateful for the fact that you're going to spend some time with us today. If you don't know anything about me or haven't heard me speak before, I do have a podcast called the Contact Center Coach Podcast, which you can find on any of the podcast stations. There's 150 podcasts out there focused on contact center leadership. I would love for you to go take a look and listen to some of them. If you don't like the first one, please listen to the second one. If you don't like the second one, then you can stop, but just don't tell anybody that you didn't like them. I've also have a book that's called The 4-Minute Customer, which is a book focused on quality monitoring. And I think it's still out there on Amazon somewhere, so you can check that out as well. Today, we're going to focus on artificial intelligence and AI, automated quality monitoring and the impact of it and the impact that it's having on the industry. And so, but just a little bit about, my company's Preponacy and our company's Preponacy, and we're going to focus on today this platform that we have that's called Insight. I'm not going to demonstrate any of the product today, but this is a product that allows you to take advantage of AI and use it in your contact center and create massive change and capability in your organization. But that's not the only platform that we have or the only product that we have. We also have the ability to be able to do post contact feedback. So we're able to do IVR post-contact, email post-contact support, so you can gather customer data and integrate it with your quality monitoring data. And once we have this data, we have a full LMS system. Of course, once we know what the changes are that we need to make in the center, we have to be able to have the tools to be able to do that. And then finally, we have a tool that does all of the agent engagement and coaching and capabilities there. And then you can't be in this industry without what I call the ante, which is in the poker game of contact centers today. You have to have security and compliance in place. And that's something where we've invested in and have the ante taken care of, so that our platform and technology can survive and thrive in your organization. So I'm here to talk to you today about AI and the impact of it. And I really think that 2026 gives you a pretty simple mandate and 3 different choices that you can make. And the fact that you are listening to this webinar and you're interested in the subject tells me that obviously you have interest, you're investing time in it. But there's really 3 options available. We can watch this occur as something that you get to later. Perhaps your competitors move faster. I think the one that most people are in is this kind of number 2, which is this browse, tinker, identify, which is that I know AI is here. I'm starting to do some pilots and some dashboards and some reports, but I don't have as an organization, I don't have as a leader, I maybe perhaps don't have my leadership focused on this with intentionality, which is the 3rd category, which is to be intentional about it. I'm going to assume because you're listening to this webinar that you're in the intentional category, and this is something that you're interested in focusing on. So why are we here? How did we get here? Why all of a sudden this, what I would define as AI impacting quality, as literally being shock and awe, that something dramatic is changing in our industry. And I understand this because I helped create the industry that we're in, which is the quality monitoring industry. And when I say I helped create it, I ran an organization that built the very first quality monitoring tools. And my name is not on the patent. That would be a Mike Maloney and a Mike Hurd. But I ran the organization, and we built the very first quality monitoring products back in the 90s. I also had the opportunity to participate in and see the FCC approve your call may be monitored for quality purposes. And there are so many organizations that have jumped into that market since then over the past 25 or 30 years. But it was built on something that created a survive opportunity, but not a thrive one. And when I look back, and I'm not saying that it hasn't been wonderful, it hasn't been incredibly cool things, but when you begin to look at it through the lens of where we are today, it all of a sudden seems like there's so many pieces missing. And the basic cornerstone is that we were able to automate technology that allows most organizations to monitor 3 to 8 calls per month per rep. And these reps are doing 600, 800, 1,000 calls, but we built it on the fact that we can get these, and then we did everything we could with that information and took it and did something with it, but it represents such a tiny portion of what's exactly going on. The second thing is that we built a technology to find somebody doing something right. That's why we built it. Hey, listen, here's an opportunity for you to find somebody doing something right in a environment where the people that are working for you are overstressed, underpaid, dying of unending monotony, and having to deal with customers that are calling and complaining on a regular basis. We could find them doing something right, but because the amount of information was so small, inevitably, I'm not saying you, but overall, we've been in the business of finding people doing something wrong. And this is tied to number 3 here, which is that we've really missed the boat in the sense that everything became about compliance. The underpinning of the entire contact center operation was compliance, trying to make sure we didn't do something really, really wrong, trying to make sure that we didn't get sued, trying to make sure that we avoided the big problems that we were having, because we had hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are servicing customers that are entry-level paying jobs, and the opportunity and the potential for problems was huge, and is still huge. But we ended up having to choose compliance over customer experience. So rather than looking at a way to make magic with the customer experience, which is what we all want to do, which is what our intentions are, we end up, because of where we are, having to focus on compliance, which is not doing something wrong. And then, of course, we've all been a part of offloading to the IVR, which was something that when it started was something exciting, something cool. I tell this story a lot. The very first IVR was in a banking application. It was so people could call in and find out their balances. So they didn't have to wait in queue to find their balance. It was, hey, listen, we've got this technology. You go in, you key in your account number, you put in a passcode. We'll tell you what your balance is. You don't have to call and wait with everybody else or wait 5 or 6 minutes to find out your balance. And people loved it. It was so stinking cool. They loved the IVR. Fast forward 30 years, people hate it. And they hate it because when we did the original banking application, it was faster, better, and cheaper. It was faster for the customer, it was better for the customer, and it was cheaper for us. But when we fast forward 30 years, now our customers hate it because it's not faster, it's not better for them, but it is cheaper for the company. And so we've created this environment where we've built this kind of survival mode rather than being in a thrive kind of mode. And then, because of the fact that we have such a small sampling, we really built QA on guessing, not necessarily the truth or the full truth. Which means that we find problems, and I have yet to run into any contact center in the world that doesn't know exactly what their problems are. They know what their problems are, but because of the fact that it's such a small sampling, we don't have the confidence to make scalable decisions. And more importantly, executives don't have the information, the confidence to make scalable decisions. And we know that fixing the root cause is the answer. And in those instances where you've searched for and think you've found the root cause and you've been able to fix some things, but it's very hard to identify, and then it's very hard to fix because we don't have all the information necessary that helps us find the root cause, create a financial justification for fixing the root cause, and then, of course, fixing it as well. And coaching is something that is near and dear to our hearts. The name preponency, the Greek word for preponency is preponency is a Greek word, and that word actually means coaching. So it's something that's near and dear to our heart, and it's talked about and it's done, but there's never been enough time or commitment to doing it. And part of the reason was we weren't just sure whether, one, we were coaching on the right thing, and then the second thing was we never had the time to fulfill it because we could never attach a cost to it to really validate it and then be able to do it with scale. And the final one is the one that I think permeates contact centers and what makes this shock and awe opportunity, this change with AI that is going to change our world. And that cost has always been the excuse. But, which is the sense that, I can't do anything. I can't make a change. It's going to cost too much money. I've got to get some sort of a return on investment on it. But cost has always been the real problem. It's the real problem. It's the reason that we moved to IVRs. It's the reason that we're always searching for ways to automate. We're always trying to offload things so that people aren't our people costs aren't so high. We offload things offshore. We do everything we can to reduce cost, and that's okay. And it's something as an organization and industry we need to embrace, and that is that we need to provide the highest level of service for the least amount of cost that we possibly can. That's profitable to our clients, that's profitable to our company, and that's profitable even to our frontline agents that are doing the work. It's okay. And once we understand and we can go after cost and look for ways to reduce cost in all the ways that we can, which is reducing the number of calls, reducing the length of calls, reducing calls that have to be handled by a human being, keeping calls from ever coming in. To begin with, all of those circumstances, when we're in that pursuit of truth, we will thrive and not simply survive as an industry and as your individual organization. So in 2026, guessing becomes indefensible because of AI. If finance or HR or safety operated at the coverage levels that we have, everybody be fired. What's crazy about this industry is that we are known for having more data than any other department because we collect everything, but we also have hundreds of thousands or millions or tens of millions of transactions, which allows us to collect all of this data. Yet with all of this data that we have, we still can't see the full picture. At least we haven't been able to see the full picture until now. A administrative note that I should have said right out of the gates. We do have a chat feature, and if there's a question you want to ask, it's okay to ask it. I do speak quickly. I am aware of the fact that you work in a contact center, so every one of your minutes are valuable. So I am trying to communicate information to you in a quick way. But at the same time, if there's something you want me to spend a little more time on, or I said something that made you kind of tilt your head and go, I wonder why I said that, go ahead and ask me. I'll be happy to answer it. Just know that I won't see it on the screen. They'll have to break in and tell me, but that's okay. I'm open and willing and ready to do that. So what are the areas that people are working on? What's changing? What's happened? Well, with AI, with the potential, with the ability to be able to get transcripts and then use those transcripts to be able to do our own quality monitoring, we have full call coverage now. We can actually get feedback on 100% of the calls. We can now actually grade and look at 100% of the calls. And we can use new models that allow us to get more accurate data and remove a lot of the issues around whether it's subjective or not. We can now begin to get more objective, which is extraordinary for compliance. It immediately allows us to find not just some of the compliance issues, or maybe we're just peering in and getting a view of what's happening. It allows us to see all of them. We also have the ability to now get automated performance insights. We can now get an insight on every call and gather that data and use that data to drive performance and drive changes in the organization. And of course, AI-assisted real-time agent support, where we can now allow the AI to listen to the calls if we choose, and then provide the rep with maybe their next step or some of the other amazing capabilities that come out of AI. And when we talk about AI and we talk about how do we save money, there really are some key ones that are just really simple, that are very easy to grasp and easy to change. And the first one is post-interaction support. And that is when your reps go into post-call work, there is an amount of time that usually there's a summary required, or some sort of summary notes that are required for your rep to put in. And for most organizations, that represents the largest part of their wrap-up time. Some organizations allow the reps to take a breather, or give them a certain number of seconds to be able to take a quick breath before they go on to their next call. Some organizations just, they've got a certain target and that's what you're shooting for. Well, with post-interaction support with AI can do that for you. They can do that summary for you and then insert it into your CRM and into your records. And we immediately get to save all of that time. The reps don't have to do it. It's 100% more accurate. And it's on every single call, and we also save the costs associated with that time. There's also the potential, if you choose, to to relocate or to reuse your quality monitoring folks in a different area, if that's something that you want to do, or allow them to focus on quality monitoring a different type of call or more extensive if there's something that you're actually looking for. And across the board, there's impacts associated with AHT and length of calls and training opportunities and coaching opportunities as well. And then real-time assistance allows for the opportunity to be able to do so many different things, whether that be barging into a call, whether that being allowing somebody to come alongside, and just the ability to be able to use a knowledge base to be able to gather data and allow you to present the data in a faster way, in a quicker way, or a consolidated way that allows either a new rep who's just beginning to understand the different complications and the different communications that they have to make, or even an experienced rep that gets something brand new. And one of the areas that AI can really help you with is if you have particularly long, you're placing people on hold for long time periods. In other words, either you have extensive on hold because a rep doesn't know what to do and has to call for some sort of second level help, or maybe it's an area that they've not been trained on, or that they're going to put them on hold because they know they're going to have to do some research because of your systems require them to go from a couple of different databases to gather some sort of an answer. This is where AI and the ability to chat and use a knowledge base and bring that data together to allow you to get a faster answer allows you to reduce that time dramatically as well. It allows people to get on the phone quicker and then to have better access and faster access to the data to whatever speed you may want to do that, whether that's real-time listening to every second of the call and providing them with some sort of a solution, or more detailed data when you're not doing it all at once, but they're listening and then just providing what the next steps are. So with those things comes the potential for great return on investment, which is really the shock and awe about it. I've given you two examples here, which are real examples. In the first case, a really large center of 1,300 agents. They have 2 million calls a month, talk time of 4 minutes, call summary notes of 10 seconds, and they're fully burdened at $22. You can see the amount of money that's saved and the payback and the annual ROI of 123%. And that's not using any of the data to do anything other than just remove the post-interaction summaries. I mean, the numbers are mind-blowing when you begin to think about the fact that that's the starting point for that. And if you're not big and we want to go a little smaller, here's 200 agents, 55,000 calls a month, 6-minute call length, call summary notes of 12 seconds, same $22. You've got 4 people doing quality monitoring today. I mean, you're doing 4 per month today. You've got 2 people at 45,000 annually. The technology cost that you install is about $46,000. The post-interaction savings, again, just the summary is $52,800. So you've paid for it. You've got 100% quality monitoring scores. You've got the potential for CSAT, AHT, turnover, ramp time. There's all sorts of ways that you can begin to take advantage of and begin to get some cost savings. And we haven't even focused on customer experience and some of the potentials that you may be able to get downline from this technology. So you can see in just those two examples, it's something that's exciting that people are looking forward to. And it's because we have the one thing that we didn't have before. We actually have the truth. We don't need to say we think anymore. We now can say that we know. And so we end up with 2 contact centers. 2026 will divide people into 2 groups. Those that are building and those who realize that their peers or their replacements are moving faster than they are. And yes, I recognize that's a little bit aggressive, but I really do think that this is one of those times in our industry that's a pretty massive change. I'm going to say these things, and you're probably going to say I'm dramatic, but I don't think I'm being dramatic. This is horse and buggy and car. This is that kind of a change. This is for the contact center, this is an air conditioning change. This is living in Texas and not having air conditioning, which, by the way, up until the mid 80s, less than 65% of people had air conditioning. So this was not that far ago, but the difference between living in Texas and having air conditioning and not having air conditioning. And the one that I could give you today is that I'm a Tesla owner. I have a Tesla, and I don't know whether you've ever driven an electric car before or ever had an experience to do it. I would wholeheartedly encourage you to do it. I'm not saying that gas-powered cars aren't cool and that there aren't all sorts of really neat things that you can get out of them. But if you've never driven an electric car and had two experiences, A, put your foot on the gas of the acceleration of an electric car, or two, been in a Tesla when it was driving and you take a 25-minute drive and it drives the entire way without you having to do absolutely anything and actually does it safer than you do it. You just don't understand something that exists today that you really ought to take advantage of or ought to look at. And I'm not saying that you should automatically change to electric cars. Yes, there are some other restrictions associated with it, but when you get behind a car and that car is driving, it will blow your mind. And when you recognize the fact that it's here, that it exists, and it's only going to get better, and then you apply that same concept to the fact that we now have AI in contact centers. AI as a industry is like an 8-year-old Mensa student. It's only getting better. And you see the impact that it can have today, that it can have on your organization, it can have on your supervisors, your frontline agents, your customers, on you, on your career. It's mind-boggling what's ahead for it. So with 100% AI coverage, we can now finally fix some things that matter. Let's talk through some of the things that actually matter in a contact center. The first one is that we really can begin to fix broken processes. Now, you're probably saying, you know what, I know what the broken processes are. I've known what they are for the past 5 years or 10 years. And that's probably true. And that exists. But what AI is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to be able to quantify it, put a price tag on it, see the impact of it, and change the way leadership looks at those broken promises. Oh, broken processes. Could be broken promises too, but those broken processes. Because what's going to change is I'm now going to be able to apply that broken process to the impact that that has on our calls, not what we think it is, but what we actually know it is. And so all of a sudden now, trying to get the attention of your IT department to get them to make a change in something that you believe can have a massive impact on your talk time or on your on hold time or whatever it is, being able to quantify that, put that in and show that not only over the course of the past 4 months or 5 months, but you can show it daily. You can show the impact of it and the changes that will occur when that changes. And so as a result of that, I've now got the financial backbone and capability to be able to explain what's happened. But the second thing is, because AI has the capacity to see all things and has the processing power to be able to make connections, it's also going to show you broken processes that you didn't know you had. It's going to show you avenues and areas of things that you knew but maybe didn't understand. And sometimes there are instances where they are very few calls, but very, very long calls that through a couple of simple changes, you can dramatically impact the organization and impact talk time and or HT or whatever it is that you're doing. These ability to go after the cost drivers changes the way your world is seen. It changes the way the contact is seen. We talk all the time about the fact that this really is an information site, and all this data, we're going to take this data, we're going to spread it throughout the organization, and they're going to see it because not only are we just solving problems, but we're on the front lines. We are in touch with the customers. We're talking to them every day. This is important, critical data that we're going to move throughout the organization. And as much as we say that, that's really hard to do, and it's really hard to get the attention of the rest of the organization because they've got their own set of problems. But with AI, we're not only going to have the most information, we're going to have the most information that's also tied to something that we can financially show that will allow us to impact the organization, not only on the cost side of things, but on the revenue side of things, and in all sorts of different ways. And it will allow us to then have truly the root causes of where our problems are and give us the capacity and the capability and the financial visibility into how we fix them. Next up is we're just going to have better, smarter coaching and support. And that's because we're going to have the confidence of knowing what the actual problem is. But now we can actually address it and create an environment where we have scalable data that we can not only fix individuals, but we're also going to be able to fix large numbers of individuals because we're better capability to do that. And in our tool, as an example, when we find a problem, we have the ability to automatically send a coaching tip or a coaching note or an encouragement or to put them in a game or do something that pinpoints that particular issue for them. So Sally may be working on professional etiquette, and George may be working on empathy, and Tina may be working on slang. And in all those instances, we have the ability, because we now know what all the individual data is, we know what to work on, we can apply things accordingly to those particular areas. And the second thing is because of AI, it now is going to watch for us because now we know what they're working on and we can keep track of and provide unending support, reinforcement, encouragement, reminders, retraining, all the different components that allow us to connect and engage and stay up with our employees. Employees are pretty simple. I mean, when you really break it down, they're only looking for a couple of things from you. They need a clear job description. They need to know what their job is. They need to have the skills and tools necessary to do their job. And then the third thing they're looking for is a leader that has their best interests in mind. Those are the three things they need. If they can get those three things, they can do great things. And when I define great things in a contact center, I don't know how long, what the length of season is that you're going to have your reps for. But for whatever that length of season is, you want them to have the opportunity to be successful. You want them to learn. You want them to be able to build skills that they can use for whatever the length of season is that they're with you. I don't know whether they're going to be with you and become supervisors or going to work in QM or going to work in workforce management. Or whether they're going to go on to be the marketing VP, or maybe they're going to go out and become senator from your state at some point, or they're going to be an actress or an actor. Whatever the length of season that they're in, though, we have the ability to help them to be better and to help them to be successful. And when they leave you, they may say, man, that job wasn't for me, or I did that long enough, or hey, I really want to go be an actor or an actress. But they'll probably also say, you know what, they gave me the tools and skills that I needed. I learned a bunch of things. I was able to be successful. I was able to impact and help people. And I met a whole bunch of really great people along the way that I was able to compete with and have fun with and engage with. And hopefully I've made some friends and some business associates for a really long time. The ability to be able to people make a connection with your front line, to be able to allow your coaches and your supervisors to engage with your employees and to encourage them and help them build and help them to be successful, also to help them be accountable and get better at their jobs, changes because we now have the entire story and we have an enormous amount of help and assistance that's going to come alongside us and allow us to do the things that we need to do. This is the one that I don't think most people truly understand or have begun to unpack in their head. And this is one of those shock and awe ones that makes my spine tingle when I think about the potential here. As an organization, we've lived for a really long time in doing post-interaction surveys and support and taking that customer feedback and applying it back to the organization, but also applying it back to the individual agents themselves. And being able to take the encouraging words and things that customers say and immediately get them in the hands of the frontline employees, because we recognize that the customer feedback changes behavior. And when somebody's being beaten down all day long and they get an encouraging word, we can't get that word into their hands fast enough because we know that that's what's going to engage them and inspire them. And so if they're getting 4 to 8 quality monitoring calls, but they're getting 30 to 60 or 100 bits of feedback from customers, it changes their world. But that's only a very small fraction, a bigger fraction than what we're doing with QM calls, but still 10%, 20%, 30% of the calls we're getting some sort of feedback on. With the ability with AI to get 100%, we now know everything. We now know everything about a customer. We now can measure the sentiment of every call, their confidence, their confusion, their trust, their emotions. and it immediately changes how we look at the customers and how we plan and change accordingly. And this is information that is crucial to your marketing organization. It's crucial to your sales organization, crucial to your leadership to be able to truly understand what's going on with your customers. And you begin to look at quality monitor in a completely different light, because now I'm looking at it through the lens of the customer. It doesn't really matter what the agent's saying. I'm interested in what the customer is saying and what can I learn from the customer. And is this a customer that may leave us or has left us, or are there reoccurring themes that are going on from our customers, or reoccurring emotions or reoccurring frustrations that we're hearing over and over again? And again, just the fact that we're getting frustrations and the impact of that frustration and what that does to just our AHT is just a small sampling of the potential that we get when we look into this. And we're seeing over and over again clients being able to get insight into feedback on things that customers have said that have raced from the contact center to the executive suite so that people understand them and can see them and can make changes according with them. And the ability to not miss anything anymore completely changes the confidence, and the contact center becomes a go-to place to see what's going on, to see the impact that we're having, that things are having in the organization, and to get an impact on what's actually occurring in your customers' hearts, in their minds, and certainly in their pocketbooks, and where they're spending money and how they're spending money. The next one is AHT, and we live with AHT, and we live with escalation. And AHT is the entire game. And for those of you that may be new to the industry, AHT is made up of three components. It's made up of talk time, it's made up of post-work time, and it's made up of the time that you place somebody on hold while you're researching or finding some data or whatever it is you're doing. Those three components. So we are in the business of reducing AHT. Obviously, the post-interaction summary is a great way to reduce that. Being able to use a knowledge base or chat, or being able to start to impact some of those level 2 calls that require somebody to be put on hold to ask for information, either because they're brand new and they don't know it, or it's a brand new problem that they don't know it. So it creates an opportunity to create a data bank and to get that information into their hands quickly. If you go a step further with real time, then I can really bring the new people along quicker, because I can just tell them what the next thing is that they need to say, or the next place they need to go. And so navigation changes, and ease of information changes, and the confidence of the rep changes, because they know what's going to happen. They know that they're going to get the data that they need. And of course, it solves all of these problems that we show here. The escalation is another one where we begin to change the way we do things with escalation. Is that something that we move live? Is that something that once we know it, we immediately share back with the client? It changes the way we do maybe post-contact IVR summaries. If we're doing a post-contact IVR, maybe we want to, once we've gotten their feedback, maybe we want to see if we can fix something else for them, and maybe avoid the return call, and try to see if we can solve the problem, or solve another problem that perhaps was missed somewhere along the line. AHT fix, of course, you know the financial impact that has, and everything affects AHT. And we all know that ultimately we're driven by, and our biggest fear is we're going to talk too fast. We're going to try to get them off the phone too quickly because they've got a bonus, or they've got some sort of a target that they're trying to hit, or we just have an enormous amount of pressure and we're trying to get people to speed things up. Well, once you begin to pursue cost reduction across the board, and once we begin to analyze and fix processes and do better coaching and do better training, we're naturally going to see an evolving AHT that continues to go down, and allows us to spend the time and focus on the things that we really want to focus on, and not have to worry about doing it differently. Never lose sight of the fact that your average AHT is made up of 3 different types of people in your organization: roses, daisies, and weeds. Roses are the best employees that you have, just like roses are the most beautiful flower that there is. White House doesn't have a daffodil garden. It doesn't have it doesn't have a iris garden. It has a rose garden, because they're the most beautiful flowers that there are. But roses are also really prickly, and they require a lot of effort and a lot of fertilizer. And what we need to do with roses is we need to challenge roses rather than just reward them. We have a tendency to challenge roses like crazy, and or to reward roses like crazy, but we need to challenge that group. And one of the ways you challenge them is that roses are the one that set the standard. Roses are the ones that are giving you your best AHT. And every time you make a change, every time something new happens, every time you change a process, a rose catches on, makes a change, and they set the standard for what the goal is going to be. But they only represent about 20% of your organization. You've got a middle group, which are your daisies. They're your average employees. And the problem with daisies is we have a tendency to ignore this group because we're so busy trying to reward and tell the roses how wonderful they are and tell the weeds how bad they are that we miss this group in between here. But we need to reward this group because this is the group that's there represents 60%. This is the one where you get your most movement from. And with the introduction of AI and so much more data we have, so much more we can gamify, we have so much more encouragement, we can find them doing so many more things right than they've ever done before. It gives us an opportunity to share in more success with them and to create an environment where they're feeling like they're recognized and they're feeling like they're connected. And they already have a AHT time that if we can move that group as a whole, we don't have to move them as far as we do the roses and the weeds, but any sort of movement there has the most impact on your organization. And then finally, we have the weeds. And the weeds, depending on who they are in your organization, they probably are being punished or they're on their way out, or you're trying to find your fastest way to give them back to the community. But the weeds are people that we need to transform. And that is because in every organization, you're always going to have roses, daisies, and weeds. In baseball, just I don't know, a couple of months ago, the Los Angeles Dodgers won the World Series. And on that team, on the Los Angeles Dodgers, the world champions, they have roses, daisies, and weeds. Now, I'm going to pretty much bet that the weeds, which are the guys that don't play as much on that team, that are on the team that are world champions, are better baseball players than almost everybody on the planet. But on that particular team, they're a weed because the roses and the daisies outshine them. But they're still world class. They're still the best there is. That's what we want to achieve, or that's the way we want to look at our contact center. We'll know we're there as a contact center when our weeds are better than everybody else's roses and daisies. Because what we do is that means that we create an environment where everybody's performing and we're trying to reward and recognize and engage with everyone, and we just continue to get better. And we continue to get better because we change processes, we find stop gaps, we find friction, we fix them along with coaching and encouraging and engaging and having more success, which keeps them around longer, and everybody ends up winning in some form or another. Number 5 is training that works. We spend a lot of time training. We spend a lot of time preparing people to get them up to speed. And if you've got high turnover, you spend an enormous amount of time retraining somebody new so that they can come on board. But it gets really hard to train people once we've got them up and running because we just don't have time. And we don't necessarily know what to train them on, or maybe you don't have the tools necessary to train them. But this change of 100% allows us to be able to train people on exactly the areas that they need to work on. And sometimes they're very small things that we can change that will give us really big returns and results. And training sometimes might be just to train them on how to better access your systems. It might be how to overcome empathy, or to have more empathy, or have some more professional etiquette, or just simply find and overcome a compliance issue that they've missed. But this 100% and this access to data, and then an assistant that comes alongside that helps to engage and remind and retrain and coach completely changes your ability to be able to do that. And of course, remember, because we now know what it costs, we now can provide the time to make sure that it happens. And as we begin to move towards, and I'm sure you're moving towards, more agentic AI, where AI agents are going to hopefully take over for IVR or become smarter IVR at some point, and we're going to begin to offload over the next 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, more and more calls to automation that will allow an agentic AI to be able to do it. What's left over, and the reason we haven't moved them, is they're more complicated calls. And the more complicated calls or more relational calls or more important calls or revenue calls or whatever the reasons are that we hold on to calls for our reps, they're going to become more complicated, which means training's not going to go away. Engagement's not going to go away. None of those things are going to change. They're actually going to become more highly needed and requested and required for the organization. And then the fix number 6 is just escalations. And I touched on this a little bit earlier, but the escalation prevention, the ability to be able to stop something bad before it happens. I don't know your environment or your business, but I do know that I've read enough of your quality monitoring forms that there are certain things on your forms that if they don't get these right, they fail completely. If they do these things, they fail completely. Well, what happens if you could know that they failed on that thing at the moment that they failed in the call? What would you do with that if you knew that? What would you do if you knew at exactly that point that they failed? Would you transfer them to a supervisor? Would you remind them? Would you have them repeat it? Would you say, oh, by the way, I made a mistake when I said that. This is what I said. That ability to repair, to make a change with AI opens up a world of possibilities that we could only have dreamed about before. And this ability to do that, again, goes back to one of our biggest fears, which was we're trying to keep from having that really bad thing happen, which made us compliance driven, which kept us from getting to the magic that we thought we could do by engaging and connecting with our customers and building loyalty and selling more and all the different things that we had the ability to do. This singular issue of being able to avoid the problems will change the way that you go to work every day. I used to tell my dad when I was really young. I woke up, had a bad dream one time, and the closet was open, and I thought there was somebody standing in my closet, which of course was my clothes. My dad came in, looked around, said there's nothing in there, looked under my bed. The next day he said to me, "Are you afraid of the dark?" And I told him I wasn't afraid of the dark, but I was afraid of what lurked in the dark. Well, for contact centers, we are afraid of what lurks in the dark. It's the compliance issues that might get us fired, might get our company sued, and might lose us a customer. So we're always trying to find ways to make sure that we can avoid that. This affords us the opportunity to be able to do that. So the operating model for 2026 changes pretty dramatically. Agent experience plus customer experience plus cost experience. Now, we've had those always. We've always worried about agent experience. We've always worried about customer experience. And we've always worried about cost experience. But we've never had the ability to actually impact all of them at the same time. And that's the shock and awe changed. I just gave you 6 different ways that we could change and we could fix things. And AI allows you to do all of them at the same time. And that's the shock and awe change that occurs. That cost experience, which is that bigger bucket, provides you the opportunity and gives you the fuel to make all the changes that you need to make. And this has cost us so much money and so much time and so much turnover and so much misalignment. And probably the last one more important, that so much no decisions were made. We just didn't move because we're trying to survive, because it was just too much of a risk to thrive, or we did something safe, or we tried this, but we didn't really solve the problem. We tried, but we really didn't understand it. And then once we made a change, we didn't have the capacity to follow through and do the things that were necessary. You see, just because you have the information, just because AI is going to come along and give you the information, once you get it, you're going to have to take action with it. You're going to have to apply what you've learned and run that through and build processes for coaching and training and engagement, and integrating customer support and feedback into what you're hearing from your AI and the information that's giving you in quality monitoring today. Old QA versus 2026 AI QA, 100% visibility, automated insights, CX plus AX plus cost, coaching that works, predictable outcomes. We're no longer in the compliance world anymore. We're now in the world where we actually can make some sort of magic. The advantages are all of these that you see here: higher CX, better training, higher agent retention. Not because we bought some super cool technology, because the technology that we've acquired, applied to exactly what it is we're doing, is producing real results. And what do those results look like? What can you expect? Well, you install this, you immediately begin to hear what's going on, and the truth begins to surface. I begin to see the areas that we knew or we always knew that we're able now to apply some costs to and get some priorities associated with them. There's some really quick fixes that come. There's some really quick ROI returns that come, especially if you have any sort of post-interaction support or you have any sort of on-hold numbers. There are very, very, very real, very, very quick returns that happen almost immediately. And then you begin to get gains and reductions in cost and hopefully improvement and agent engagement and just a completely different environment that you've got in your organization. I like this statement. 2026 is the year we stop blaming, saving, excusing, poorly replacing agents. Because I've been around in this industry for a really long time, and we blamed them for years. We've done everything we could to save them, to hold on to them because they're going to leave. We've excused them because it's been stressful and it's been hard. And we've tried to replace them with IVRs and all the other things that we've done really, really poorly. And when I say we, maybe not you, maybe you've got the greatest contact center on earth. If you do, please invite me. I'd love to see it. But we collectively as a whole, every year a report comes out and says, what's the worst job in the world? Garbage men always wins, but contact center agents are always second on that list. And it breaks my heart. And my dream is that someday we're not going to be number 2 anymore, but we're going to be maybe number 10, which would be really super cool. But we're going to stop doing those things and start fixing the systems that failed the customers and them. If we could do that in 2026, it would be shocking. We'd be awe-stricken, and our world collectively would change, but more importantly, your world would change as well.